do we have our edge rusher or edge rushers in Quincy Roche and Azeez Ojulari for the future?
So I deeply wanted to talk about this because Quincy Roche had an awesome, like he won the game on a strip sack. It was a beautiful play. It was the best pass rush move by an edge, maybe in the last 2 years for the New York Giants. Like best just individual play from an edge rusher in the last 2 years. I mean, it was beautifully done. It was quick, bam, 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 get low, dip around the corner, bend the edge. But I think we should pump the brakes on Quincy Roche. Papa Roche, as some people would are trying to get rolling. Shout out Tucker Sherry in the chat. Because I don't think Quincy Roche is going to be some great pass rusher for the New York Giants going forward. I think he's going to be a good rotational player, and this talk about him was very similar to the way it was about Lorenzo Carter during his rookie season. And I like Quincy Roche, and he's someone I wanted. I wanted him when I saw he was on waivers. There was two players. It was Quincy Roche and Ben Mason, the fullback. So essentially the only every down type player that I wanted off waivers that was stood out was Quincy Roche. Talked about him down at the Senior Bowl, put him in a mock draft video. But I also want to remember, it's I wanted him in the 4th round. You know what I'm saying? And so it's I like Quincy Roche, but I like him for what he is. So I think Quincy Roche should be a good rotational player going forward. And he has added to the Giants because he's clearly better than Lorenzo Carter and O'Shane Ximines right now. Definitely O'Shane. Lorenzo, I know he's coming back from injury, so is he better than what Lorenzo was at the beginning of last year? I'm not necessarily sure. But he's also younger. He keeps his hands moving. He keeps his feet going. I think he's going to be a good, solid player for the Giants going forward. But at the same time, he doesn't affect how I attack any single offseason for the rest of the time. I don't think Quincy Roche will ever come into my mind when it goes all right, what do we do this offseason?
Yeah. I think especially Quincy Roche shouldn't prevent you from possibly taking an edge in rounds 1 or 2 next year. Oh, we have Quincy Roche and Azeez Ojulari. That's good. I think Quincy Roche, the ceiling for him is being that number 3 guy off the bench, and if that's not a bad role, by the way. It's not a bad role, and sometimes you don't like to compare the game to when the Giants won their Super Bowls, but when the Giants did win their Super Bowls in 07, 08, and 2011, they had a rotating crew of pass rushers, and the season like 2016, Olivier Vernon and Jason Pierre-Paul, they played 90% of the snaps. They were absolutely ran into the ground. A guy that could come in there 30, 40, 50% of the snaps on a given situation or a given matchup, that is a very, very good player to have. And that can be a Quincy Roche type player. And I think Azeez Ojulari, the ceiling for him, which this is a fine ceiling, is a really good number 2. I don't know if he can be a number 1. Don't know if he can develop into that, where we're still looking for possibly getting that top-tier edge rusher that the Giants can have. If they decide to draft one in the 1st round, then you got that guy for 5 years. And then, boom, that's the crew and that's the guys that we can roll with.
Yeah, I think we've got our 2 and 3, with Azeez being the 2, Quincy Roche being the 3. But at the same time, it's you should be excited about Quincy Roche because of how he was acquired. You got him for free. It's you got someone who you think is going to be a solid football player for a long time for free. And this is someone, if they would have drafted him in the 4th round, you would have seen a big-ass smile on my face if we got Quincy Roche in the 4th round. Even when I put him in the 3rd round in that mock draft video, you hear me, I say in it, I was I think I might be overdrafting a little bit, but it was right off the Senior Bowl, and he had a good Senior Bowl, and my database of players was limited at that time. So, yeah, I like Quincy Roche. And he's a Miami guy, so I got a little bit of favoritism towards him.
Bias.
I hope, but I think it's I think with Azeez and Quincy, we got our number 2, we got our number 3.
Yeah, and we made the mistake with, which I'm never going to blame us and fans for being optimistic. I'm never going to hold that against anybody. We made a little bit of mistake of over-evaluating Lorenzo Carter and O'Shane Ximines. And O'Shane was the guy that never excited me, but even still, for how excited we were about Lorenzo Carter, I say in his PPP, I still see this is a guy that, is going to maybe max out at 8 sacks, and that's the best case scenario. And obviously, I don't think he's going to get anywhere anywhere close to that this year.
I mean, people thought he was going to be a top pass rusher going into his second year, and it was that's just not going to happen, and I don't think that's ever going to happen for Roche either.
No, so we got to,
Azeez could possibly get there, but I just think he's going to be a solid number 2 going forward.
These guys need to put up more pressure on a consistent basis. And then this even goes with Leonard Williams. This entire Giants defense they need to put more pressure on a consistent basis. They're doing well with the sacks, they're getting the sacks, but if they want to sustain the success over a long period of time, They need the QB hits and they need the pressures to kind of sustain themselves. And let's be smarter this time around. That's my point, and I think that's both of our points. Let's be smarter this time around with how we evaluate the edge room, because we misevaluated it this year. The Giants coaching staff did, the management did, and we did ourselves too. Let's be smarter this time around with how we evaluate the edge room, and I think that's a fair evaluation of saying Azeez number 2, Quincy Roche possibly a number 3.
You think we misevaluated it?
I think.
Here's what I'll say: here's how I misevaluated. I didn't think O'Shane Ximines would be this bad. I thought he'd have it I thought he had flashed some potential to be like solid, but I think we always viewed this as this kind of a bad edge room.
I would have been fine if O'Shane was actually cut. I don't know if you remember that O'Shane was going to be
like
my
I didn't want O'Shane cut. When people were saying cut O'Shane, that would be my misevaluation as O'Shane, because I didn't think O'Shane would be this bad. I thought I
misevaluated Carter. I thought, when Patrick Graham literally cried about Lorenzo Carter's development in terms of his rehab, the Academy Award goes too. That kind of sold me, and like, oh, Carter's going to be back and he's going to be good and he looks good and stuff like that. So that's where I misevaluated.
So I was wrong about O'Shane. You were right about O'Shane. I was right about Lorenzo. You were wrong about Lorenzo. We were both. We were actually. Can I say this? No one was more right about Ofedio Odenigbo than us. Whereas, like, I was like, he's not gonna be an outside linebacker, and then they have him an outside linebacker, and it's like, didn't see that at the time. I was like, guess I'm wrong, and I don't think I was wrong.
No.
We were right about Ryan Anderson not bringing back Kyler Fackrell to bring back Ryan Anderson was a big mistake. We said that in the moment.
Yep.
Azeez, I think we've been dead on about.
I was a little off. I was a little off on Azeez. I didn't think he'd be doing this well.
See, but you were higher on Azeez in the draft stuff than I was. Like, you loved Azeez. I was like a little skeptical about him when we were talking about him in the first round.
He was my best. If there was a pass rusher that I wanted, I thought Azeez was. It was Jalen Phillips, but I was most comfortable with taking Azeez because of Jalen Phillips' health concerns. So yeah, he was like my favorite guy. So